This is David Lukin with GrassFlap. Today we're going to be installing a GrassFlap onto a Bradley Stand-on Lawnmower. The tools that you're going to need are a 7/16 wrench, a 1/2 inch, maybe a couple 1/2 inch wrenches, and a 5/8 wrench. And then I'm going to be using a impact driver to do some of the work. You'll also need a pair of channel locks and a pair of cutters to clip off the wire tie. With that, let's get started. First thing we need to do is remove the existing factory chute. Set the chute aside along with the bolts. Step number 2 is going to be to install the hinge plate as it comes out of the box. You'll be using 4 3/8 by 1 carriage bolts provided along with the nuts to go with it. You can run these nuts on, but you don't have to secure them super tight because we're going to be making an adjustment when we fit the blocker plate itself to the deck opening. So the next step then is to go ahead and attach the blocker plate. You'll use the 1/4 by 3/4 bolts provided in the kit. Again, no need to tighten these up until we get the blocker plate positioned where it needs to be. Now that those nuts are installed, go ahead and close the flap, position it forward back where it needs to be. Go ahead and tighten the 1/4 inch bolts, and you'll also want to go ahead and secure the bolts that attached the assembly to the mower deck itself. Next step is to connect the spring. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you where the cable is going to run before we actually connect it to either end. So it runs off the GrassFlap down underneath the frame there, makes a loop. We got to watch out for the muffler because it'll get hot down there. So we're going to come on back around, up inside the frame here, next to the gas tank, and then come out the back side. From there we're going to drop down to the pedal. Now that we've seen where the cable is going to route, now we're going to go ahead and connect the cable to the pedal itself. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the rubber boot and the first jam nut off the fitting. Then we're going to go ahead and connect the clevis to the end of the wire. And then we're going to go ahead and connect that clevis to the pedal itself. We use the 1/4 inch pin that came in the kit along with the cotter pin. Now that we have the cotter pin in place, next thing we want to do is go ahead and hook the cable fitting into the pedal itself. We'll slip the wire into the slot that's there, run the jam nuts down where they're tight, push the rubber boot back on in place. And notice that I've got the jam nuts for the cable almost all the way onto the fitting. That's a good starting point. Next step then is go ahead and put the 5/16 by 1 carriage bolts into the pedal. Now we're going to set the pedal up on the back of the mower there. There's a little ledge there that we can hook it to. And we're going to use this keeper, if you will. We're going to slip it in on top of those carriage bolts to keep them from turning. And behind the ledge there, or the piece of steel there that we've hooked the pedal to. We'll go ahead and slide the pedal over to where it's just a couple of inches away from the right side of the mower. The farther to the right you can get it, usually the better it is. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten those two bolts up. I usually start with the one on the left-hand side, and then we'll tighten the one on the right-hand side. This works to keep that keeper from coming out of position. Go ahead and snug these down tight. They actually form that keeper a little bit as you snug them down so it stays in place. Then we're going to go ahead and connect the flap end of the cable to the GrassFlap itself. There's two jam nuts on here. You want to position the jam nuts somewhere about midway on the fitting as a starting point. Once those are in place, then the next step is going to be to connect the cable end, and this is the cable end with the fixed clevis on it. We'll insert the small brass bushing, the 3/16 pin, as well as the cotter pin that comes with it. Be sure to install the pin with the head on the spring side. We'll insert the cotter pin and then go ahead and open up so it'll stay in place. With this done, we'll go ahead and snug the two jam nuts. Don't over tighten them, they just need to be snug a little bit. And now before we tighten them up on the pedal end, what I want to show you is how to adjust the height of your pedal. So depending on where you position the jam nuts, you can raise or lower the pedal. Now that we've got the pedal where the position we like it, then we'll go ahead and snug these jam nuts up as well. So finally, now that we've got everything in place, I want to show you that you can close the foot pan, raise the pedal tab up, close the foot pan, let it back down. Then operationally, it's the same motion we always have, a push and release on the pedal, lets it open and close. So there you have it, GrassFlap installed on a Bradley mower with a TEF pedal